Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Well, look, this sounds like a absolutely terrible idea, but I have exactly 0 years experience in law enforcement. But well, how's this sound to you? Seattle is now throwing out the idea of having illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, on the police force. They're going to be accepting applications from DACA recipients. They're colloquially known as dreamers. What kind of garbage label is that? That's nice, convenient propaganda for you. But that includes about 800,000 illegal aliens fall under that label, and they will now be eligible to be cops. Is that a good idea? Because, we have a shortage here in Dallas. If that's a good idea, should we try that here? Let's ask Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith. She's a spokesperson for the National Police Association. Welcome back to the show. What do you think about this? Is this a good idea, letting illegal aliens be on the police force?
Well, Washington State, with their Senate Bill 6157, is joining California, Illinois, and Colorado by welcoming DACA recipients. Remember, this isn't even law. This is an Obama executive order from 2012 that has been overturned by multiple circuit courts, by the way, and allowing these people to become police officers, firefighters, things like that. Now, dreamers, DACA people, many who are in their 30s. Do we think I guess, if you want them, remember, there's a pathway to citizenship. If these people join the United States military, you can work your way to citizenship. But I want people to think about, do you want a non-citizen being able to arrest and or use deadly force against a citizen of this nation? I just think it seems like a terrible idea, but yet we have vilified law enforcement officers to the point that departments like Seattle are short about 725 police officers, and they can't seem to get it together in Washington State to talk nicely about their cops, so they got no one applying.
Yeah, and I'm super skeptical about any police reform that they do in the Mecca, the Babylon, the heart and soul of the ACAB movement. All cops are bastards or whatever it is.
Right.
I don't think they really have the police best interest in mind.
No, I don't think so. In the city of Seattle, their law enforcement has been taking it on the chin for well over a decade. This didn't just start in 2020. So I think this is just, another slap in the face to the good law enforcement officers in Seattle. But, LAPD has been doing this since last year, and here's the problem. People who are in this country illegally cannot possess a firearm. So what LAPD did was get together with the Department of Justice, and they had the ATF kind of work around some, do a little shenanigans and say, well, your people can carry guns, your DACA recipient police officers. Now, we just had a Supreme Court case last week that said, the bump stock case, that said, in essence, the ATF can't make law. You need Congress to make law.
Right.
So we've got a real problem here. What I want to see the first DACA recipient police officer who is forced to utilize deadly force, and let's see where that ends up in the courts.
Oh, well, where it's going to get protected by the one side. It's going to get vilified by the other side, and the other side will be called probably racist. But I think we all see where that's going.
Well, yeah, and it's unfortunate. I think what we need to do, instead of saying, let's let these DACA people become police officers, instead we need to lift up the law enforcement profession. Let's stop talking negative about the entire profession. If we have police officers who do bad things on occasion, let's talk about them as individuals in individual parts of the country. Let's start lifting up this profession so that once again, young people are going to come to this profession. Up until about 2020, when you would have maybe 50 openings on any police department, you'd get 1,000 applicants. But now that no longer happens because we have politicians and teachers and media and on and on and on vilifying the profession that's trying to keep this country safe. How about if we change that instead of hire illegals to police legal citizens in this country?
Yeah, I think a lot of people see the double standard there where, hey, education's not doing so well. What do we need to do to improve it? Well, we should pay teachers more. But then cops, hey, policing's not doing so well. What should we do? Defund them. It's like, well, look, I'm glad y'all finally found a government program you want to defund. Does it have to be this one?
Exactly.
Right.
We see that the defund the police movement in the last 4 years has failed miserably, and everybody understand crime is not down. The reporting of crime is down. 40% of crimes don't get reported. So I know we're being told by the federal government, everything's fine. Don't believe your lying eyes. Crime continues to rise. Police numbers continue to fall. And this is not the solution.
Yeah, and on that number that keeps being thrown around, the top 3 most populous counties in America did not report their numbers to those statistics. So, of course, it's going to skew down a little bit. But Betsy Brantner Smith, has anyone tried this before? Do we have any body of evidence, the results of a policy like this?
We really don't, other than LAPD, but that is just
less than a year
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are police departments that will hire dual citizen folks, and I know a couple of police officers in Colorado that hold dual citizenship, but they are citizens of this country and another country. Both of them happen to be Germany, and the only reason they do that is because they want to go back to their original country after their retirement, but they are here legally, and they work legally, and they vote legally. And they have a vested interest in this country, and they love this country. They're not here illegally.
All right, tell the guy listening about the NPA.
So go to our website, nationalpolice.org, hit that donate button, and sign up for our newsletter. You want to get some great news and articles from the most amazing writers? Sign up, nationalpolice.org.
Thank you very much, Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association, on The James Show again. And my question for you is, really, should illegal immigrants be allowed to join the police department? Now, I'll talk to you if you agree with me, but I'd rather talk to someone who disagrees. Someone, please, try and talk me into the wisdom of allowing illegal immigrants to join the police department. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Seattle is now allowing illegal immigrants to be on the police force. Los Angeles started doing it a few months ago. Should we adopt that here? We have a police shortage in Dallas. Should we allow illegal immigrants to be on the police force? What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I think it's a terrible idea. Period, point blank, end of story. If we're having that hard of a time coming up with cops, there's many other things that I would try before that. And it's not that I am inherently anti-immigrant. It's not that I am inherently anti-illegal immigrant. It's that previous societies have turned over their security to immigrants in exchange for citizenship, and it never works out for them. What do you think happened in the Roman Empire when they started filling the army with Germans? Pretty soon, Rome was run by Germans. And that's not like a metaphor, like literally the Lombards and the Vandals, and they just took turns going, the Goths took turns going down there, burning the place up. And it started with, that's one of the many similarities on the downfall that we see. Another thing they did is they got off the gold standard and they just started printing tokens like Chuck E. Cheese instead of having real money. They started overspending. They started running deficits. They started having food doles. You could go get like 2 pounds of grain per citizen if you were in the city of Rome. Oh, really? They had food stamps back 2,000 years ago? Yes. They tried all these terrible ideas and we're just repeating them. 800-288-WBAP. Glenn and McKinney, it's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Hey, you know what? Many, many years ago, I wanted to be a cop more than anything. So after graduating from college, I went and started that process, I had 12% body fat, and they disqualified me because I was 4 pounds overweight. I had a friend of mine who answered truthfully to the fact that he had tried marijuana once in college. Both of us were disqualified for that, and yet now they're actually seriously considering giving those positions to illegal immigrants. How absolutely freaking ridiculous is that? And I'm going to let you run with it. Thanks for taking my call.
Can I ask you what city you were in?
Richardson.
Well, that must be a wealth. They must have an abundance in Richardson of applicants to be turning away people for such light and frivolous causes as that. And I don't know if the guy listening is familiar with body fat percentage, but 12 is amazing. 12, come on, that's like professional athlete level. And I'm not saying he's lying. He's probably not lying. But yeah, and some of those metrics are way off base because look, there's a lot of athletic guys who build up a bunch of muscle and have very little fat. But when they go to the doctor and they weigh themselves, they're like, dude, you're overweight. If you're like one of those pocket Hercules guys, the guys who go to the gym too much and they shave all their body hair and they're just ripped and they're always wearing a tank top and they don't have any sleeves on any of their shirts. Those huge guys, they're listed as obese. But yeah, that really should grind your gears the wrong way. Some dude smoked pot one time in 1996 and he can't be a cop. But some illegal immigrant, sure, here's a gun. Go shoot at citizens. That's fine. Robert in Dallas. You're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. What do you think? Should illegals be allowed to become cops? Robert, go.
Well, so I'm Latino, just to let you know.
So are you Roberto?
No, Robert.
Well, then how Latino could you be, sir?
Yeah. What's that?
I was just making a valid joke. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I was laughing myself. But my father was in service in San Antonio, and he worked hard, but he wanted to make sure we went to school just like everybody else and earned a living just like everybody else, right? But so what you're talking about with the illegal immigrants being police officers, I don't agree with it, and I just want to let you know there's a lot of people of Hispanic descent that feel like I do, because I don't know whether you know this or not. I know growing up here, I've dated some women from Mexico, and the thing is, they'll tell me that I'm not Mexican enough because it's a different culture, it's a different understanding. So when you're dealing with that, that's from a different perspective. And so I just see a scenario where there's an issue, and then life is taken by someone who hasn't not really familiar with the ways of the U.S. And then something happens. God forbid they take a life for deadly force, and then that's going to play out. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm not for that. And trust me, my friend, there are a lot of people like me that feel the same way. I just want to make you aware of that. Yeah,
I hear a lot of that. And Texas is a special place as far as demographics and race and ethnicity, because like right before the show started, I was listening to a little bit of Dan Bongino, the guy who comes on before me. And He's married to a lady that's labeled as Hispanic, but he's come across the same thing. A lot of us have come across, what the heck is a Hispanic anyway? Because I have a wife who is technically, I guess, half Hispanic. Her mom, both of her parents are Hispanic, as in they grew up speaking Spanish in the home. And I think that's really the cursory definition of what that's all you got to do to be able to be labeled Hispanic. Did you speak Spanish growing up in the home? And it doesn't matter if you're 100% white or 100% black or a mestizo or an Indian or an other Indian from the other side of the planet. And it's such a mix-up because, like, my wife's grandfather was born in Belize, but back then it wasn't Belize. It was British Honduras. So he grew up a British subject, which you would think would categorize him as white, but he spoke Spanish in the home. So what is he? Well, I guess he could be labeled as Hispanic, even though technically he has English citizenship, but he's from Belize. Then he married a lady from the Yucatan Peninsula, and then they moved to New Orleans. And these definitions are so like nebulous and whatever. You can tell that they're just coming up with them almost for political sport at this point. And the rest of America is is not caring as much as the people on TV, the amount of pigment that's in your skin or what your heritage is or whatnot. It's really, are you legal? Are you illegal? Are you an American or are you something else? And
I consider myself a true American and a patriot. When people ask me, "Oh, are you Mexican?" I said, "Well, you know what? My birth certificate is white." I said, "I guess maybe I'm Mexican or Spanish, whatever you call it, because I do like tacos. That's about it. But I'm red, white, and blue all the way through." That's what I tell them, and that's the truth. I spoke at a federal. He's a doctor friend of ours, and he wasn't Hispanic, and he was a veteran. And I spoke at his funeral, and there were all kinds of vets there. He served in Vietnam, so I'm a true patriot, and that's the way it is. And I'm not for all that illegal crap. I'm really not. So,
yeah, you know what?
I'm with you on that.
You sound a lot like my grandfather. Not that you're that old. He's already passed away. But he's a guy who is, and sorry for the stereotypes, but I can say anything I want about my own grandfather, people. And thank you very much for your call, Robert. My grandfather is a little short guy who is very dark, and he has black hair. Not brown hair, black hair. And anyone looking at him would be like, well, you're not a white guy. But what is he? Is he a Mexican? No, he never lived in Mexico. His family's been here for generations and generations before that. He served in the Korean War. So no, he's 100% American. So what is he? Is he Hispanic? These definitions, we're getting past them. These are unnecessary definitions in modern America and in modern society. We are forcing people into boxes when there's not really a box to be forced into. He's just as American as anybody else. And for so many people in America, they have that experience where my family is not so easily defined. Some of us are from other countries and some of us have different pigments and we're all kind of a jumble of stuff. And we've all been in Texas for like generations now. How are you going to call us anything other than just regular old American? 800-288 WBAP. And that's what they're scared of. They keep putting these labels on us because we're going to figure out, all of us, that we're on the same side. And our problem isn't each other. Our problem is the people in D.C. Our problem is people in Austin. Our problem is these government apparatuses that are constantly intervening into our lives, whether it's economic or cultural or drugs or sex or whatever. And we would start fighting them instead of fighting each other. 800-288 WBAP. This is the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, and still officially worse than a bear. That's right, more dangerous than running into a bear in the woods. So Seattle is following the terrible idea from Los Angeles County, and they are allowing illegal aliens to join the police force. Boy, they really love cops up there in Seattle, don't they? Is this a good idea or a bad idea? I'm really looking for someone who thinks this is a good idea. I promise I'm not going to be rude or call you stupid or embarrass you in front of God and everybody. I would just like to hear the other side of the argument, because even in the articles I've read about it, they don't make the other side of the argument other than dreamers are fantastic people and they're less likely, and immigrants commit less crime than Americans, and Americans suck anyway. And so it's not a satisfying answer. I want to know what the real answer is, because that one's not it. 800-288 WBAP. Let's see if I can find somebody who agrees with it over here. Brandon in Rowlett, you're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. What do you think? Brandon, go.
Hello?
Yeah, you're up.
Oh, hey. Yeah, you guys are talking about definitions and labels and boxes. And, if you break it down, the law has basically two definitions. Either something's legal or it's illegal. So I think it's so funny. It's an oxymoron for an illegal person to enforce legal laws. I don't even know how that works.
No, that's perfect. I'm ashamed I didn't think of it first, but that's funny. That is an oxymoron, an illegal immigrant cop.
Yeah, someone who's illegal trying to force laws.
Why don't we have them roll around in a stolen car? Just to complete the irony, I mean, they have some in the pound. Let's just go use one of those. We'll have an illegal human and an illegal car telling you to stop doing what you're doing because it's illegal.
With an automatic machine. It's just
somehow though, this very obvious punchline that you and I are laughing at, this got through the powers that be in both Los Angeles and Seattle. So, I mean, we can laugh at it, but there's someone out there who thinks this is a good idea. They don't have the cojones to call the show. I wish you would. I promise I would be nice. Thank you, Brandon, by the way. Let's try Casey in McKinney. Hey, Casey, you're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. What do you think?
Well, thanks for taking my call. I agree with what Brandon said. You're going to have somebody that's illegal coming in, and what is their cultural affiliation? Even when they try to apply to be a police officer, they come in illegally. We're trying to say that, oh, hey, you're illegal. You're going to be legally going to follow our laws to prosecute somebody that's done illegal things, and you're illegal. That just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, well, look, I think the mental gymnastics that some are doing here is they are making this specific to the DACA recipients and the dreamers, the people who were brought here. They're still illegal. They weren't born here, but they were brought here as minors. So they didn't technically, I guess, do anything illegal. And I'm not saying I agree with this reasoning. I'm saying this is the mental gymnastics that they're running through. They're dreamers. They didn't come here illegally. They were brought here illegally. So since they haven't really actively, only passively broken our laws, that's not as bad as an actual criminal becoming a police officer. Again, I disagree with it, but I think that's the reasoning behind it.
Right. Well, we're all dreamers. Hire somebody that's legal in the United States, an American citizen, and that's a patriot, right? You can't find anybody to protect us and serve us as a police officer that is already American citizen, and they're having to open it up to illegal immigrants. That just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to anybody who's called so far. I'm dying for the guy it does make sense to. I would love to hear it. And I just wince so bad. It's so cringy, the names that they give their constituencies, like they're dreamers. Like they're just kids with a dream. And why do you want to stomp on a kid's dream? It's like, well, first off, the average age for a DACA recipient's over 30 years old. So none of them are kids. And how come we don't get cute names like that? What happens when blue collar white people vote for Democrats? Well, that's working class. That's the blue collar vote. What happens when they vote for Republicans? They're uneducated whites. That's what CNN calls them, uneducated whites. So the game they play with the labels, it's ridiculous. It's beyond silly. Thank you very much for the call. I can squeeze in one more. Let's stay in McKinney and talk to Pat. Pat in McKinney, you're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Should illegals be cops?
They should not. Illegals are here illegally. They have no respect for our law, or they wouldn't be here in the first place.
Right. So the non-rule followers are going to be the rule enforcers. That's the obvious paradox that pretty much all of us have brought up. Do you have any explanation on why some people would think this is a good idea?
Because they're bleeding heart liberals, and they want everything done their way, and they just imagine that they feel something for these people that dream about coming here to live off of us, and they think, oh, there might be some good guys in there. They're mostly good guys, but that doesn't mean they are. We cannot take the chance. That's gambling.
Yeah, so the illegal immigrants that came here by no fault of their own, they have the fantastic label of dreamers. What's the term for illegals that come here and they do bad things? Is there one?
That's their dream, too.
Right. Good answer.
It is. It is. Those people coming from the mental institutions and the prisons and the gangs, they come here for their dream, which we don't owe them.
All right. Well, look, they have terrible names for it in any of my beliefs or positions. Not only can I be an uneducated white, I could also be a climate denier, like a Holocaust denier. Or I could, just as a man, I have toxic masculinity. Yeah. I'm an Islamophobe. I'm a transphobe. I got it. I'm a terrible person. We just don't have terrible labels for the people that actually do terrible things. Just for me. Thanks. That's so sweet. 800-288-WBAP. 800-288-9227. More calls on whether or not illegals should be cops. And really, I'm looking for someone who says yes. And I promise, I'm not going to beat you up or be rude. I will be totally respectful and nice. I would just love to hear from you. 800-288-WBAP. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, and we're discussing whether or not illegals should be cops. Now, it hasn't been proposed here yet, but we have a terrible record of copying bad ideas that start on a coast somewhere and work their way into real America. somewhere. And I like to try and find some sort of historic context for this. And I'm having a hard time. I am having a hard time because when the closest I can think is like, remember in like Gangs of New York, how the cops in New York City were a bunch of Irishmen for the most part. And that's like New York City! Not just a movie thing. That was a popular thing throughout history, especially on the East Coast, whether it was Boston or New York. A lot of Irishmen became police. And although they were foreign born, I believe they came here legally, so they're still not. They're immigrants, but they're not illegal immigrants. So I'm kind of stumped here. So I'm asking, do you have anything you can point at to show me how this is a great idea? Has this been tried somewhere and it's already been proven a success? Because this sounds like a horrible idea, and everyone that's called so far seems to agree. 800-288-9227. I would love to hear from you if you think this is a good idea. Let's try Andrew in College Station. You're on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Do you think this is a good idea, Andrew? Andrew, you with me? Andrew, go.
Yes, I got two. I got two cons and one pro for you.
Okay.
So imagine the conversation you would have if a cop pulls you over and he says, "You say, officer, why'd you pull me over?" He says, "Because you didn't use your directional." Well, why is that a problem? Well, because that's illegal. Just imagine where that conversation could go. And the other thing is,
yeah, you could crack jokes on the guy the whole time. You'll just get arrested even harder, though.
Yeah. And the other thing is, do you get sworn in when you're a cop that you have to uphold the Constitution?
I think so. I don't know how that works. I think that I know that's for like the president and military and Congress. I don't know what cops do. They might just do like a spit handshake. I don't know.
I would think that they would have to have some sort of pledge to uphold the Constitution. And then here's your pro. If you needed 30 cops to keep your neighborhood safe and they only 10 cops applied, would it be worth hiring illegals at that point? Or do you just say, okay, 10 cops is enough? That would be the only. That would be the only way that I would think that would possibly stomach that.
Right. So clearly they're having some recruiting issues, but the free market capitalist American way would be keep raising the pay until you get the recruits that you need.
Yeah, and then what about gang members trying to become cops? Just to get on the inside.
Well, is
that an issue too?
If they already have like an arrest record, I think they will be singled out and they'll have to follow all the other rules that it takes to be a cop. But still, hadn't found someone who thinks this is a great idea. I appreciate the call, Andrew. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Pleasure listening to you, pal.
All right, that's Andrew in College Station. Good stuff there. Let's try Mike in Cleburne. Hey, Mike, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think?
Hey, man. Correct me if I'm wrong. If this is for the Dreamers,
yes, this is for the Dreamers.
That's going to qualify them for the job. They've had 20 years to become citizens, and they haven't done it yet. Why would you want to have somebody supposedly upholding laws that couldn't follow opportunities?
Yeah, so the Dreamer thing started in 2012, so I guess they've had 12 years as Dreamer status, but okay. I don't think they all got a pathway to citizenship. I think they just got like in-state tuition, and they're not going to be deported.
Right, yeah, that's the deal for them, but they've had 12 years to become citizens. Why is it that group of people are going to be given another opportunity?
I know, like how many privileges? They don't want equality. These people are all griping for privileges now. The equality was reached with the civil rights movement, and it was a great Republican success. And we're going to talk about this in my Juneteenth segment coming up. But after that, no, you're not asking for equality. You already have equality. They're all asking for special privileges. Like the gay rights movement now isn't asking for equality. They're asking for special privileges. I can't go show my junk to little kids, but they want to be able to do that. If you're still in favor of the Blacktivist movement that wants more affirmative action, well, you're not asking for equality. You're asking for special treatment. And it just goes down the list, whether it's a woman's situation or whether it's a racial situation or it's a sexual orientation situation. The letter of the law has already been to even out. Y'all are just asking for specialties now. And for the Dreamers, letting them be cops, it also opens up the door to. So let me get this straight. They're going to come back next year. I swear they're going to come back. They're going to be like, okay, so this person came here as a kid. They went to college. They're now a cop. They can enforce the laws. They can carry a gun, but you're not going to let them vote. That'll be next. You know it's coming. But thank you very much for being part of the conversation. That was a fun one. Coming up next, we have a Texas surgeon that is facing charges for exposing chemical castration on minors. They call it trans affirmation therapy, but you know what's going on here. The surgeon blew the whistle, and now they have the FBI investigating them, not the doctors that are sterilizing children. We'll talk about that next. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.